This is the moment that XRP holders have been waiting for, because while everyone is busy staring at the Bitcoin chart and the ETF headlines and worried about when is the government gonna reopen, something way bigger just got activated behind the scenes, behind the curtains, you may say. We're talking BNY Mellon, the oldest bank in America. They just flipped a switch that could unleash XRP's next era and could ignite this bull cycle. I'm talking global liquidity going parabolic, Swift confirming digital asset integration, and Ripple officially choosing BNY Mellon to custody its US dollar stablecoin reserves. This isn't speculation. Oh no. This is infrastructure that is all being built in real time right in front of your very eyes. By the end of the video, you're going to see how these moves all connect. From Swift to ISO 20022, from Ripple Prime to RLUSD, and why this is the institutional green light for XRP. Let's dive in because things are about to move fast and I want to make sure everyone is up to speed. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you never miss an epic moment like we have right now. And hit that thumbs up. The more thumbs up we get, the more YouTube pushes out this content. Hitting that thumbs up, it's the ultimate way to support the channel. And guess what? It is 100% free to do. And we're starting right here. Global liquidity, it's ripping. No pun intended. Every major liquidity index, China's credit impulse, US reverse repo flows, the Eurozone injections is flashing bullish. Money's moving. It's that simple. Debt's rolling and liquidity is the oxygen of every bull market. You see it up there on your screen. That's Bitcoin compared to the global liquidity. You see where this is going to go next, right? It's going to go up and to the right. That means explosion. Because when liquidity surges, risk assets, it explodes. And crypto, it's built exactly for this moment. We're talking about new breakouts incoming across the board. And when the tide rises this fast, it doesn't lift every ship equally. It never did. It lifts the ones closest to the money rails, which brings us to a massive revelation we got going on. The US government's hidden crypto position. That's right. You're not going to believe it, but it's right here on your screen. And it's on the blockchain. It's all public data. But the US government now holds 327,000 Bitcoin. Let that sink in. 327,000 Bitcoin. That makes it the second largest Bitcoin holder on the planet. On the planet, folks. And here's what this tells us, right? They're not anti-crypto. They're not positioning. They already are positioned. They understand what's coming. A digital liquidity cycle powered by on-chain assets with regulatory clarity unlocking the next phase. And if the US government is holding Bitcoin, what do you think they're going to do when XRP becomes the backbone of international settlements? Why do you think Brad and Chris and Stuart are all over there at the White House? Why do you think they're over there in the EU with the Parliament and the White House representatives talking about this transatlantic coin? Because the moment, it's already here, right? Which brings us to this, because technically XRP, it's coiled tighter than ever. Let me blow this up. This triangle that you see on your screen, it wasn't a breakdown. This was a B wave. This was before the thrust down. Now the setup is flipped because what comes after B? C. What is a C wave? A C wave is an impulse. And when this plays out, because it's going to play out, we're going to see new all-time highs. And the party for XRP, it starts when we break $4. For those of you who've been following me, I've been telling you for the past year, when this run is on the way and when it happens, that $3 to $4 range is going to be the toughest cookie to crack. It's going to crack. Our next run at it is when it will go down. Because if you haven't been paying attention to the XRP chart, we've been coiling right around $3 for quite some time. We've been a very tight range. Now take out the whole Binance, liquidity, FUD markets, crash, whatever we want to call it, them pulling the plug. Before that, we've been coiled up around $3. This isn't hopium. This is the actual structure. You can see it on your screen. You can see this thing just bouncing around for months. It's really almost been all year we've been coiled up in this $3 range, right? This is the same exact formation we saw back in 2020 when Bitcoin broke 20K. And when liquidity meets structure, you know what happens, I hope. That's when explosions happen. And when the world's biggest banks are confirming the same bullish signals, well, you know it's party time. Breaking news, the Duchess Bank, managing over 700 billion. They just called Bitcoin an extremely impressive asset with growing institutional adoption. That is a major tone shift, everyone. We're talking about a legacy bank here. One that mocked crypto, just like in the last video, we showed you Jamie Dimon, who mocked crypto. They are now officially validating it as an asset class. Listen.
I would say, first of all, if we look at the rise of Bitcoin, it's been extremely impressive. So the performance year to date, it's less than gold, but it's very impressive still. And if you look at Bitcoin prices, especially since November 23, it's been on the rise for a couple of factors. First, the Bitcoin ETF was very successful, one of the strongest successful in history. We had as well in 2024 halving episode. And actually, if you look at what's going on before and after the halving episode, prices tend to increase, and the halving episode occurs every 4 years. Third factor that we had as well was the Trump effect, I would say. And clearly, President Trump was extremely optimistic starting over the summer, and he's been elected, which drive very strong positive momentum. And we also had the regulation, especially the stablecoin regulation, which drives a lot of optimism around crypto assets. And all of that we've seen as well a growing institutional adoption. I would say...
So first, we got Duchess Bank, right? Then we got BNY Mellon. And now we got Ripple, who is at the center of it all. And if you want confirmation here that the system is coming online, well, look no further than Swift itself, right? The one who's doing 5 trillion a day. Because this is directly from Swift, the backbone of global payments. They stated that they are upgrading ISO 20022 data to include digital asset transactions via their APIs. That's official. That means digital assets are now being built into the plumbing of global payments. Remember, ISO isn't optional. It is the new language of money, and all the banks need to upgrade to it. And you know who's ISO native, right? Well, XRP is. Listen to this clip here.
There is a question from Sharifa, who is coming from Swift indeed and will be making the second presentation. And of course, Swift is quite a player, right, in the ISO messaging. So
thank you, Anna. So first of all, I would like to thank you for the work that you've been doing. From a Swift perspective, this is extremely important to us to hear it from the industry. It's not really our purpose nor our role to dictate things. So very welcome this perspective. What I'd like to say is, and I'm turning to the audience right now, we do have a very large community at Swift, 11,000 players, 6,000 of them active in the security space. We'd like to hear from the rest of the world as well. So please get engaged. Please share your own perspective on this ISO 1502.2002 coexistence. The second point I wanted to mention, and it's linked to the question that was raised around digital assets, tokenized assets, and DLT. It's a bit like in the standards world, right? Traditional and digital ecosystems are going to coexist. And in order for us to achieve the goal that Andrea was mentioning in terms of achieving efficiency, making things work and services adopted, we will go through a coexistence in the digital space as well. And what we've been doing as part of the standard maintenance releases, I believe we started somewhere in 2019, 2020, is to update the MT and the MX messages to carry digital information. So that is also extremely important until we find what is the future way of communicating in a digital asset space, be it APIs, as you said, Jean-Paul, trying to stick to the ISO 20022 data model or anything else. Thank you.
Well said, well said. But here's the kicker. Those new MX messages contain data field for crypto assets. This isn't, theoretical interoperability that we're looking at. This is XRP level integration here. That's what we see. When the world's largest custodian banks with 47 trillion in assets under custody say every cross-border message must include crypto compatibility, that's not a test. That is deployment. And it gets even crazier because Ripple just made a BNY Mellon a partner. That's right. Who remembers this? BNY Mellon is going to be serving as the primary custodian for Ripple's RLUSD reserves. That's massive. That means that Ripple's US dollar stablecoin, the backbone of its institutional liquidity vehicle, is going to be the safeguard by the oldest bank in America. Let that sink in. The oldest bank in America. Why? Ask yourself why, right? We're talking about regulatory trust, global settlement access, and deep Wall Street integration. This is how crypto becomes infrastructure. Let me pull up these slides so you can see it here. Right, this is from BNY Mellon. This is talking about ISO, what we just went over, and the new format, and them telling you what's going live. This is what changed in the data model. You can clearly see on your screen right here with my mouse that it is now going to include crypto. As we move over, you can see the SwiftNet messaging structure now has a crypto block integrated into it, and which brings us over to this, moving from the FIN messages type to the FX for central bank digital currency and clearing. And here's the article about Ripple selecting BNY Mellon to custody its reserves. And Ripple wasn't done here. Ripple's never done. Ripple, look, SEC lawsuit didn't matter. Ripple knew this isn't a time where we just stopped. They went overseas and they started signing partnerships overseas, and they put the US, kind of on the back burner until they had clarity. This company is always moving because they just closed another $1 trillion deal, which we went through, and that's with its prime brokerage. And we talked about this in the last video. Okay. So RLUSD, it's rated #1 in stability and governance by Blue Chip. It's earning an A+ rating. This is all in the article on Ripple's website, which came out on October 24th. Super recent. It goes over all of this. It talks about BNY Mellon as the custodian, Ripple Prime handling the institutional clearing, and that Ripple now controls both sides of the liquidity equation. It is all in this article. You can go read it for yourself. It is directly on Ripple's website, ripple.com. Go to their insights and you can see it. You can see the A+ rating. You can see the Bank of New York Mellon. It is all in here. Everything is shown on this channel is documented, and we show you everything on the screen. That's what makes this channel so different, right? We bring the hard facts so you can start lining this up so you don't miss where this is going. So if you really think that the markets are topped out, think again, because some of the sharpest minds in finance are saying the exact opposite. And you got Tom Lee over here. I don't know, Tom Lee tells you the moment's shifting. Things are flipping. He's telling you that the charts are coiled, that the liquidity is flooding, and that the institutional rails, they are all opening. Bitcoin leads. And if you don't know, let me back up a step. If you don't know how bull runs go, this is my third bull cycle. Bitcoin leads and it outshines and outperforms everything. People then start complaining that their altcoins aren't moving, that they're actually losing and going backwards a little bit. That's the narrative. And then when Bitcoin is done and the dominance is all the way up there, 60, 70%, money will start to flow out of Bitcoin. At that point, it's going to go into Ethereum. Ethereum then starts to run, right? Bitcoin starts to come down, money leaves Bitcoin, goes into ETH, ETH starts to go. When Ethereum is done, that's when your altcoins start to go. Now, in the first two bull runs in 2017 and 2020, XRP was always a last mover. I want you to think about that, right? But then it gets even crazier, because when we're talking about BNY Mellon, for those of you who haven't been around, and I remember this when I was around back in 2018, Matthew Mellon, right? Very unfortunate situation what happened with him. He was one of the earliest XRP believers. And Matthew Mellon, yes, as you can probably guess, associated here to BNY Mellon to the bank, right? Before his passing, he famously said that XRP was the perfect digital asset for banks. Now, years later, the bank that carries his family name is literally custodying Ripple's reserves. Full circle here, everyone. History doesn't repeat, but you know what? It definitely rhymes. And if that just doesn't give you chills, it really should. So we started with global liquidity, and we end with BNY Mellon holding Ripple's reserves. Swift confirms digital asset APIs. BNY mandates crypto-ready payment formats. Ripple integrates custody, clearing, and stablecoin rails. And this isn't a it's coming soon moment. It is happening right now. The XRP ecosystem, it just freaking leveled up. We went from speculation to sovereign grade infrastructure. So when people ask you, is XRP dead? Because I see it so many times, I get so many DMs on this. You tell them, no, XRP just got a seat at the table with the biggest banks in the world because BNY Mellon, they didn't unlock XRP's future. It just unlocked its era. And if you're still here, congratulations, because you're early. Smash that like button and comment BNY XRP down in the comments. And if this video gets over 1,000 likes, I will pick a winner from the comment section who commented BNY XRP. And share this with someone who still thinks that crypto is just in a phase. You see, folks, it pays to stay to the end of the video because you might be getting yourself a free t-shirt. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay bullish out there, my friends, because you know what? It's not over. It's not even close to being over.